long before Rome became the undisputed ruler of the Mediterranean, another power stood in its way, one that challenged Rome on land and sea, and ultimately faced its own tragic downfall. This is the story of Carthage, a great city-state that rose to prominence, fought fiercely for its place in the world, and ultimately fell victim to the very empire it once sought to rival. Chapter 1: The Birth of Carthage. Carthage was founded by the Phoenicians, seafaring traders from the ancient city of Tyre, around 814 BCE. According to legend, the city was established by Queen Dido, a princess of Tyre who fled her homeland after a political struggle. The Phoenicians were known for their advanced seafaring technology, and their empire stretched across the Mediterranean. Carthage, located in modern-day Tunisia, would become their jewel, a powerful city-state and a hub of commerce. The city's early rise can be attributed to its strategic location on the coast of North Africa, which gave it control over important trade routes. Carthage quickly became a center of trade, drawing wealth and influence from regions as far as Spain, Sicily, and North Africa. It was a city built on commerce, and its navy soon became the dominant force in the Mediterranean. Chapter 2: Carthage's Political Structure and Society. Carthage was a republic with a complex political structure. At the heart of its government was the magistracy, which consisted of two chief magistrates known as Sophetes. These were elected officials who had supreme executive authority. The Senate, composed of the city's aristocracy, was responsible for making important decisions regarding foreign policy, military actions, and internal affairs. The Carthaginian society was heavily influenced by its mercantile class, and wealth was the key to power. The most powerful families controlled vast trading networks, and their influence extended to military matters, especially as the city began to engage in more frequent wars and conflicts with other powers in the Mediterranean. In times of war, Carthage would elect military commanders known as strategoi to lead its armies and fleets. Chapter 3: Early conflicts and expansion. Carthage's early history was marked by its conflicts with neighboring powers, such as the Greeks and the Egyptians. However, it was in the 6th and 5th centuries BCE that Carthage began to assert its dominance over the western Mediterranean. The city-state expanded its territories by establishing colonies in North Africa, Spain, and the islands of Sicily and Sardinia. Through these colonies, Carthage controlled vast trade networks, enriching itself further. However, Carthage's expansionist ambitions would soon bring it into conflict with Greece and, more importantly, Rome. The First Punic War, which began in 264 BC, would mark the beginning of a long-standing rivalry between the two powers. It was a war that would ultimately reshape the balance of power in the Mediterranean. Chapter 4: The Punic Wars, Rome vs. Carthage. The First Punic War, 264 to 241 BC, began over control of Sicily, a key island in the Mediterranean. Carthage, with its superior navy, initially held the upper hand, but the Romans quickly adapted and built a fleet of their own, using innovative tactics and war machines. Despite early setbacks, Rome proved resilient, and in 241 BC, after a series of grueling battles, Carthage was forced to surrender Sicily to Rome. This defeat, however, did not mark the end of Carthage's power. The city-state was wealthy and resourceful, and it quickly rebuilt its military and economic strength. But the scars of the First Punic War remained, and the stage was set for the Second Punic War, one of the most famous and devastating conflicts in history. Chapter 5: The Rise of Hannibal and the Second Punic War. The Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BC, was defined by the genius of one man, Hannibal Barca. Hannibal, the son of the Carthaginian general Hamilcar Barca, had been raised with a deep hatred of Rome. After his father's death, he became the leader of the Carthaginian forces and swore to take the fight directly to Rome. In 218 BC, Hannibal famously crossed the Alps with an army that included war elephants, catching the Romans completely off guard. Over the next several years, Hannibal achieved a series of stunning victories over the Roman legions, most famously at the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, where he annihilated a much larger Roman force. Despite these successes, Carthage's position was increasingly precarious. The Romans, under the leadership of generals like Scipio Africanus, began to turn the tide. In 202 BC, at the Battle of Zama, Scipio defeated Hannibal, effectively ending Carthage's hopes of defeating Rome. The peace terms that followed were harsh. Carthage was forced to surrender its fleet, pay heavy war indemnities, and cede much of its territory. Chapter 6: The Third Punic War and the Destruction of Carthage. The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BC, was the final chapter in the Carthaginian-Roman rivalry. Despite its weakened state, Carthage was still a prosperous city, and many Romans, including the senator Cato the Elder, advocated for its complete destruction. The Roman Senate, eager to rid itself of the lingering Carthaginian threat, declared war once again. The war was brutal, and after a 3-year siege, the Romans finally breached the walls of Carthage. The city, once a center of wealth and culture, was utterly destroyed. Its buildings were razed, and its people either killed or sold into slavery. According to legend, the Romans even sowed salt into the earth, ensuring that nothing would grow in Carthage again. The destruction of Carthage in 146 BC marked the end of the Punic Wars and the final triumph of Rome over its greatest rival. Chapter 7: The Legacy of Carthage. Though Carthage was physically destroyed, its legacy endured. Many of its innovations in navigation, military strategy, and trade influenced later civilizations. Rome, despite its victory, was forever shaped by the existence of Carthage, especially in terms of its military organization and naval capabilities. Today, Carthage's ruins stand as a testament to its once great civilization. The story of Carthage is a tragic one, filled with ambition, genius, and ultimately, a fatal rivalry with Rome. It serves as a reminder of how even the greatest powers can fall when they fail to adapt to changing circumstances or underestimate their enemies. In the end, Carthage was not just a rival to Rome. It was a symbol of the Mediterranean world's complexities, its shifting power dynamics, and its inevitable course toward domination. The rise and fall of Carthage stands as one of the most significant chapters in the history of the ancient world, a reminder that greatness can be fleeting, and that the tides of history often shift in unexpected ways. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rise and fall of Carthage, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more historical content. Let me know your thoughts and any topics you'd like to see in future videos. See you next time.